Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Dunamis Woman. Today I am Michelle Obasi, and of course I am here with Pastor Dee, Dee Collins. She's allowed me to come back. We've been talking about prayer, and as you know, I am promoting her book. I've read the book. I am her spiritual daughter. I have been part of the Leadership Institute in which she pastors for over 4 years now. And I'm coming naked and unashamed because I want healing. Not only for myself, but for my daughter, from others, from people I just don't know, the nations who are attached to me. And the only way we can do that is we have open dialogue. So Pastor D, thank you for allowing me to come on your platform
so
and
in
continue
other
to ask you
words,
questions. Come on with it.
We just do what we do privately, publicly.
We are doing it publicly now.
Publicly, okay.
We have really in-depth conversations. It's not business as usual. It's not a service as usual.
No.
I can come, and for the first time in my life, and I'm in a setting where I'm asking questions. It's participatory. I'm not just getting the Bible and said, okay, everyone, let's all read together. We don't do that. We ask questions. We write, it's a leadership institute. You're learning. It's a school of life. We're learning how to apply God's word
to your everyday life.
To our everyday life. And that's what it's
what's
about.
for you is not what's for someone else. And that's the key.
And I learned that. I learned that just talking about prayer the last couple of times that I was here. I want to talk to you from a historical point because
let's go for it.
Honestly, there is in his word he tells us about the people perish because of lack of knowledge. But if you go further, it talks about they know what to do, but don't
they
do
rejected it.
And they rejected
it, yeah.
But I want to talk about, I went to Revelations 5 and 8. And it talked about a golden bowl of incense that were the prayers of the saints.
Correct.
And it's twofold. When I saw it, I'm like, man, only the saints can get their prayers in that bowl. I'm just real. And then, but I thought about it. I'm like, that's a historical aspect. I said, to myself, and you tell us all the time, the prayers of our ancestors are still being heard today. We think because we're here and we got our little education, it was Big Mama's prayers when she looked at each and every one of our pictures.
Yes.
And prayed over each and every one of us when we were babies. That's why we're here today.
That's right.
It's the prayers of her mother's mother before they were even able to vote and write and speak and all of that stuff. We had a relationship with God. Our ancestors did. And so I want you to talk about that. And then I want you to really talk about the lost art of prayer.
Okay.
Talk about that ancestors. My grandmother's prayers resonate today.
Your great grandmother.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Somebody I didn't even know.
Somebody that you didn't even know.
Okay.
The prayers of Harriet Tubman, the prayers of Sojourner Truth, the prayers of all of our ancestors. And let me tell you something, ancestors is not a black thing. It's
not.
It's wherever your roots come from, that's your ancestors. Right. So that's why it's dunamis woman. It's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a woman thing. We as women have been fighting all of our lives. All of us. Now, depending on what tribe you've come from or what race you've come from, ethnicity, your fight may be a little bit more intense.
Right.
But realistically, we're all having a fight. All mothers are fighting for their children.
Yeah.
All mothers, all wives are fighting for their husbands. All women have been abused. All women have been emotionally damaged. I don't care what you are. You understand what I'm saying? And all women are harboring pain. Yeah. That's the first thing. So it's amazing you talk about Revelations 5 and 8 because it talks about that in the book, about the prayers of the elders and the ancestors and the prayers of the saints. Now, oftentimes we don't even know what that means because elders, I'm reminded of, first of all, where even it talks about in Hebrews 11, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen, and by it, the elders obtained a good report. And then it started talking about all of our ancestors. You see what I'm saying? Right. So our ancestors died in faith, believing. You understand what I'm saying? That they see some of this stuff is not going. Let me be diplomatic and dignified and all that. I mean, get dignified. It's not going to happen in your dispensation of time. Okay, that's just real. But your prayers is keeping it going. Okay. That's why the elders died in faith. You understand what I'm saying? Some things I'm not going to see. But because of my prayers, now it's keeping the future generations going on. That's why the enemy wants to keep us as women now unhealed, self-absorbed, selfish, like we arrived. We were created to be women, to be womb bearers, to birth in the earth, not just kids and having babies by 5 different men.
Right, right.
Or they just keeping us pregnant. You know what I'm saying? We fought for ourselves to come out of that. Does that make sense?
It does.
We fought to come out of the kitchen. That's why we up in the White House now. You know what I mean? We fought. And so now we have a voice. What is that voice is saying? It's raising the voice of our men worldwide. We need you.
Yeah, we do.
We need you. So the prayers of the saints, the prayers of the elders, the saints literally mean, when you know, the Bible talks about, I will not forget your labors of love, how you labor with the saints. You see what I'm saying? Saints is not because you go to church. Saints is not because you confess Romans 10 and 9. If you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus Christ, that don't make you a saint. A saint is a consecrated person who went through hell to get her consecration.
Okay. So, person looking at this, a drug addict who's overcome, a prostitute who's overcome, or somebody who's overcoming, you know, they've been consecrated.
But they've
gone
fought.
through it and they fought.
But they fought based upon the pain and the victimization that somebody else may be free.
And that's when you talked about, lastly, my pain is that purpose.
It's your power.
For that supplication.
It's your power. Because
in that's where it is. And
I can go to a school right now. I'm gonna be very honest with you. As you can see, I'm a black woman.
Okay, I got you. I see it a little bit.
You see a little bit?
Yeah.
That's what God made the epidermis of who I am. It don't make me different, less, above, or beneath than any other woman. Caucasian, Indian, Philippine, whatever that. Because God gave us a tribe that we will break free from whatever your pain and victimization is. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I can go to a school right now. That's why I call it School of Life. Because many kids don't even go to school what our ancestors fought for them to go to school.
Yeah.
When I see those kids on the street, I can slap them. Matter of fact, sometimes I get out to do it because they're ignorant of history.
Yeah.
Somebody fought for you to read a book. Harriet Tubman got beat because trying to read. And you think I won't pick up a book? You understand what I'm saying? But what we want books is that's going to be with some fluff.
Right.
We want books of self-help. How can I get my self-esteem back when I don't even know who I am? Come on now. Prayer is communion with God. So I had to fight now so the other future generation can know what prayer is about. Our ancestors fought. They was out there in the field praying. If they didn't have nothing else, they had faith.
They had faith.
Come on now. We got cars and houses and internet and loans and we could go and we don't have no faith.
None.
I'm just speaking the real.
You are.
Dunamis is about making it happen when nobody don't give it to you. Dunamis is about women coming together. You put your 2 pennies, I put my 2 pennies. That's how they became free. Now I got mine. Us four, no more. Forget you. That's a self-absorbed mindset. I need you. If you're fighting for your legacy, I'm fighting for my legacy. I don't care if you're a white woman, polka dot woman, blue woman, green woman. You got some legacy to live, to leave here. Does that make sense? And I'm fighting for it. Even if I don't have any children, most people say, well, I don't have any children. Fight for somebody else's.
Fight for somebody else's.
Fight for somebody else. Somebody fought for me. You understand what I'm saying?
It's so amazing when you talk about that. It reminds me of community.
That's
community. It reminds me of when I was a little girl, and it's the same thing. Miss Harris made sure she looked out the window when all of us came home from school.
Correct.
I'm thinking Miss Harris is looking out the window. Every time we took a step, she's praying.
Correct. She's praying
on our behalf.
She's praying.
You know, and it was a community, and what you just described is a community.
It's a community.
For a long time, I didn't have children, but I still prayed for somebody else's child to be healed or whatever.
That's right.
You know, it took me, and that's why I think God, not the only reason, but He gave me. I wasn't supposed to have a child.
And I wasn't.
The doctors told me.
Doctors told me
at 33
I couldn't have them.
I gave birth. All of my life, I lived my life not thinking that I would have, because I took care of other people's children. He saw fit.
And I took care of everybody's little snotty-nosed kid. And then when the doctor told me, Dee, you weren't going to be able to have kids, let me tell you something. I prayed like Hannah. When he told me my reproductive system was toe up and from the flow up, and I would not be able to reproduce, it hurt my heart. But I didn't go into no pain of victimization. I believe God's word. Hannah, and I saw all these women, and they didn't even take it. I was taking care of their kids. So I began to pour out my soul. And that's what women of ancestors did. They poured out their soul. We as women got to know how to pour out our soul to get a change in the earth. And then God gave me a new reproductive system. And then when my daughters and stuff going through, I said, God, why they going through? Because, you know, the very pain, when a man raped my daughter, I said, God, why? What is this about? You know why? Because she was called to and chosen to know how to minister to those women, young women. He said, it's not about you. I didn't give her for you. I gave you her for me. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I want to talk about, I know we have to take a break, but I want to talk about when we come back, I want to talk about prayer more, but I want to talk about that lost art that our ancestors
I will
had.
definitely.
So we will be right back. Stay tuned.
Dunamis Woman and Real Awesome Men magazine is not just a publication that empowers you to break through barriers for great success, but we are a magazine that supports the mission of other organizations. So I am so happy for our fall 2014 issue, which is a special edition strictly for the Schaumburg Business Association. And we are coupling up with Alzheimer's Association to support their mission and their cause. Alzheimer's is something that affects many families all around the world, whether it's your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother, or your father. And it really is something that most people really hold dear to their heart. And so we want you to help us support Alzheimer's Association by going to our website and buying a single issue for a low cost of just $6.95. That's just $6.95 that you could help us give back to Alzheimer's Association. So visit www.dunamis-woman.com and get your copy today.
Welcome back, Dunamis Woman. Today, I'm Michelle Obasi, and of course, Pastor Dee Collins is in the house speaking truth about prayer. We talked about the historical aspect of it. We've been talking about it, but I'm going to tell you something. And the prayers of our ancestors, you know, people that we didn't know, they didn't even know us. And you talk about your daughter, you left off with, you know, asking God, why was she raped? Why was she taken advantage of? But I know you continue to pray that she, you know, be the woman that God called her to be, and is the woman that God called, and continues to be that, because she has a nation attached to her.
She does.
My daughter has a nation attached to her that I don't even know about, but through my prayer, I don't have to know. But as long as I continue to pray and supplicate on her behalf, you know, that's my duty.
Correct.
Not as a mother, but just as his agent. And I'm learning that the more and more that we sitting here talking.
Correct.
I didn't have, you know, I learned agent, but I'm learning now the importance of prayer as an agent. But I'm going to tell you something. You said something, and it reminded me of my mom. It reminded me of my grandmother. There's a lost art that our women had. So I'll give you an example. My aunties and grandmothers used to be in the kitchen humming. I'm thinking they crazy. Talking. Like, who is she talking
and
to? And singing.
Yes.
I have an aunt. Her name is Flozella Follins. And I'm going to say her because she raised me. I was born with an affliction. And she laid hands on me when my own mother could not.
That's right.
And she prayed over my affliction. It was a physical wound.
That's right.
And she watched my intestines go back into my body.
Yes.
She never gave up.
Yes.
She didn't let
You
up.
don't give
She
up.
didn't die until
I
was in college, probably.
You don't give up.
But one thing, I used to share a room with her. And she used to be in the middle of the night.
That's
in
right.
the
Come
middle
on
of
down.
the floor, praying. She had a Bible in her hand, and all I see, I say, ooh, auntie crazy. She talking to the ceiling. Lord, help me. I'm thinking she crazy. Every night, I woke up with her praying to God.
And that's how you made it thus far.
That is it. Talk to me about that lost art. We don't do it.
Because first of all, well, let me just say this to you. And I mean, you're really hitting it out. I'm trying to hold back my prayer of travail right now, because that's what gets results.
Yeah.
We as women have become too sophisticated. We have become too dignified. We've become too degree-oriented. Now, don't get me wrong. Y'all see, I love to look good. But I can get down with it, get down. You understand what I'm saying? It's not an external, it's an internal. You understand what I'm saying? We've accomplished things, and we think we don't need God. Dunamis means a miracle itself. It means power, but if you look it up in the Greek, look it up for yourself, it literally says a miracle itself through the power of God that worketh in you. And that's what your aunt had. That's what my mother had. That's what my grandmother had. That's what my spiritual mother had. I never heard my mother travail, but I heard her sing. Washing dishes. That's a melody unto God. It's an intercession. It's a travail. Does that make sense? My house was filled with worship. If you look up the word prayer, according to the Greek, it literally means worship.
Okay.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show.
Real,
you see what I'm saying? So we get locked into one thing. But I know the art of intercession. Let me tell you something. First of all, we as women don't like spending time in our homes.
No, I promise you I don't.
And we got to go back to the home. I tell people, I may look like I'm new here, but I grew here. When my daughter, I could tell you about my ex-husbands, the prayer, I could tell you about it all, okay? But I'm just going to use her for an example when she was raped. I said, God, what do I do? All I knew was travail. I started seeing the attributes of the rape, the trying to be promiscuous, trying to do this, and her self-esteem. You know, I could have beat her. You understand what I'm saying? But prayer. You understand what I'm saying? So even when she was at school, see, I cleaned my house. Many women don't want to clean their house. When I would clean my house, ironing her clothes. Ironing her clothes. I would be praying. When I put her clothes in the washing machine, I would put that oil in there while I'm praying. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, when she laid out at night, I would pray over her. I had prayed already over her pillow. You understand what I'm saying? And I would anoint her pillow. She didn't even know oil was in the pillow because I knew her mind had to be renewed. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the art of prayer. We don't spend time in our home. I love being in my home. I love cleaning and washing dishes and ironing. We try to be so sophisticated that we done lost the art of domestication. Does that make sense?
It does.
We want to be she foo-foo. Somebody got to come clean for me. There's nothing wrong with that. I had people to clean for me, but I never lost the art of what I can do in my home as a woman. Praying. I love cooking and singing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where I get revelations. That's where I'm praying. When I pray for my husband, when I pray for my children, when I pray for my granddaughter, the revelations come when I'm washing clothes, folding clothes. Because if I can't take care of my home, I can't take care of my business.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
That's what a spiritual mother imparts it to the kids. That's why I tell you all, don't you come up in here and talk about you know Miss Evangelist and know all this and your house nasty. The devil is a lie. Don't come up here and tell me how prophetic you are and you calling your husband names at home and you think you want to pray openly.
Right.
It ain't gonna work. It just ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
I got you.
And you think you're getting prayer. It's your heart. Does that make sense? I have seen miracles where women have been cooking the food. We don't even want to cook no more. It's microwave instantaneous stuff. 30 minutes. One woman in the ministry, the meal ain't 30 minutes, I just can't cook it. The devil is a lie. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because you're so degreed, you can't cook. I have women that have come to the ministry. They look good. They got nice breasts. They got hips, and the men love them. But they can't even steam no broccoli.
Wow.
I'm so serious. They don't know how to cut a chicken. I'm so serious. There's 3 things I teach women about the art of the man. There's 3 F's. And I ain't going into it now, but one of them is feed them.
Woof. Oh, I can't wait. I think I know what the other one is.
The other 2, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
you know, people listening to you, they was like, "Oh, she just talking about putting us backwards."
No, that's not bad.
Tell me why it's not putting us
because
backwards.
it's first of all, it's a root.
Okay.
And if you look at come on now, see, if you look at the words, and I love to dissect, God used me as a word. When I dissect the words, because if I could talk about something of a word in the English term, it's not taking me to the root. A lot of these words, it talks about in the Greek and the Hebrew, a primitive root. Some roots just don't change. See, we're trying to take the root out of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
The root. When I was eating greens, my mom used to cook the turnips, which is the root. You understand what I'm saying? Now we just eat the greens.
Right.
What happened to the greens and turnips?
True.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So it was that we cut it's the nutrients that's in the stem of the greens. We pick them and take the nutrients out. That's what we're trying to do. Your root is your nutrient. It don't mean I can't look good. It don't mean I can't. I have a business. I have a husband. I have a home. I have children. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a speaker. I'm not giving up on that dream. I do all of it. I'm a dunamis woman. But I can't be effective in all that, and this at home is not good. We're trying to build all these things for the kingdom, and our foundation is not right, and that's our home. A home was put in a community. And the reason why the church is jacked up, because the homes is what? Jacked up. You bring jacked up stuff in the church because your home is jacked up. We submit more to the pastor than we submit to our man at home.
That's true.
A pastor will not, N-O-T, shall not. You all are not going to give me more respect than you give your husband at home. You will not. Women have left and got offended because I said that. Get up off of me. I am not your Lord. Tell me how you treat your children. Tell me how you treat your husband. Tell me, can you pray? That's a woman. Anybody can have sex and probably do it better than me, but can't nobody pray and travail like unto me. Does that make sense? Because I know how to take my husband. I know how to take my man. I know how to take my business. I know how to take you all. You understand what I'm saying? Into another realm through my travail. That's the art of it. I'll put some oil in your shoes and you don't even know it's in there.
I'm trying to watch you. I ain't messing around with shoes.
And you
got oil in my shoes.
Why I can't go here?
I'm squeaking.
Why I can't go here?
Why is this happening?
Why?
Right.
My next book, I'm finishing it up, I promise you.
Okay.
And I know men go buy this one. The Power of a Silent Woman. Every time I mentioned it to a man, they was like, "Oh, where can I get that?"
Right.
Because men are tired of women talking. Shut up and pray. You're nagging, you're griping. I don't have to labor with y'all. All I have to do is pray. You'll be wondering why I can't go here, why I can't do this. Because you got a praying pastor. That I want you to prosper. You see what I'm saying?
You said something, and I know you always look at us for not where we are, but who
where
God called us to be.
That's it.
And so we talk about prayer, and we may even have to do, if you
Look,
don't
got a little
mind,
misty
we may
there.
have to, that's all right. We may have to do another show because you pray proactively.
Proactively.
You do not play.
And that's what the book talks about. Yes.
We pray, and I'm not just talking about black people. When I say as a people,
I'm talking
about
as
everybody.
A kingdom-minded people.
We always pray proactively, but what hinders us is a lot of us
reactively.
And that's when I had talked about earlier on my daughter. I want to be proactive always in my prayer, and that's when you talked about God knowing His mind. He don't react. He already knows. Our present is His past.
But you, in closing, before let's do a part two and talk about historical prayer from a preventive standpoint.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, our ancestors was praying preventive.
They were.
Preventive, and it worked.
Let's do this.
It got results.
Part two.
Thank
you for tuning in, Dunamis Woman Today.
That's right.
Michelle Obasi and the one and only Pastor Dee
Love
Collins.
Connection. Be back in
We'll talk to you
part
soon.
two.
All right.
Well, there you have it, a power-packed show that truly I did not mind Michelle to ask me questions. I believe that questions need to be asked in our home, in our church, in our community, and not just being told what to do when we really don't know how to do it. And if I was to change anything that I was doing as far as the name, it would be how to. How to lead, how to ministries, how to, because that's what we need to know. How to do what God has called us to do with specificity. So I am coming to you because, first of all, prayer is my life. I believe in it. I live by it. I don't flaunt it. It's just who I am. But I have seen it get so many results. And that's why I wrote this power-packed book, How to Pray with Power and Purpose. Now, let me say this to you. No, the book is not 100 and something pages because, first of all, it didn't need to be. I believe that, first of all, whatever God has for you and has for me, it doesn't take it long and drawn out. It needs to be clear, precise, with instructions. And that's why it's called a power tool. It's naked and not ashamed of my life. It's the prayer that you have to live by to be able to do it, to get results in your life. And that's why it's a power series. You could put it in your purse. You could put it at your desk. You could pick it up just when you need to refresh your memory about some things, because it's going to teach you how to execute. And when you're in the situation, when you're facing the circumstance, you oftentimes lose sight of what to do and how to do it effectively. That's why it's a power tool. So not only can Michelle ask me questions, I want you to ask me questions. I want you to get this book right here. It's literally $8.95, but I want you, because we had talked about on the show 2 or more. So when you purchase 2 or more, it's going to be $5 per book for 2 or more. Call me. I don't want you to go to the website, because I want you to call me to get that special deal for 2 or more. 1-855-BE-DUNAMIS, 1-855-BE-DUNAMIS, or 847-908-0650. You can use this book in your own home. You can use it with your daughters. You can use it in your church, with your ministry, with your women's ministry. You can do it wherever and use it for whatever you want. But I admonish you, because it is truly time to pray with power on purpose. I am Dee Collins, and I look to hear from you. Give me a call. I want to talk to you.
Woman.